A huge python grabbed a honey badger and started to strangle it. Even though the animal has almost impenetrable skin, immunity to venom, and a high pain threshold, it has no defense against this weapon, does it? So the jackal decided the same and boldly approached the opponents. Perhaps he hoped to snatch a piece from the defeated, but the honey badger turned out to be tougher and fiercer than the giant snake thought. The jackal is also in shock, but the honey badger escapes from the terrifying embrace of the reptile as long as a car, then grabs it with its powerful jaws. The python clearly picked the wrong opponent. It hurts, but it's still ready to resist. However, the jackal doesn't hesitate either. It grabs the python by the other end of its body. They are playing tug-of-war with the honey badger, but the python is completely helpless and stretched between them. He did not expect this. In the end, the honey badger finished off the python, drove away the jackal and its fellow that came to help, and began his meal. He turned from prey into a hunter. And we will show you other instances where small and unusual, but unexpectedly cool animals demonstrated their strength. The honey badger is cool, but he is not the only one in the world. He has relatives with impressive fighting abilities. Some of them avoid fights, while others are happy to take on any opponent and fear no one at all. For example, here a mountain lion found an appetizing carcass and started devouring it. It seems that no animal alone would dare to attack a hungry puma to take its meal. It would take a pack of wolves to venture such an undertaking, or just one Wolverine. She emerges from the thickets and directly attacks the enraged puma. The cat is shocked. Large males of this species can even surpass female jaguars in size and are second only to bears in sheer physical strength. But the Wolverine doesn't care. She counters the cat's agility and power with an incredibly tough and insensitive hide, powerful paws and jaws, and her main trump card, aggression. The honey badger would be proud of its distant relative if it saw the ferocious onslaught a Wolverine can unleash on its enemies. The Wolverine looks quite amusing with its tiny snout and disproportionately large paw pads, but don't let the cute bundle deceive you. This lunatic unhesitatingly attacks a puma. Of course, the mountain lion resists and tries to fend off the attack, but the Wolverine simply ignores the damage from the enemy's claws. Tearing the skin and reaching the Wolverine's internal organs doesn't work, and its high pain threshold allows it to ignore pain and actively fight, preventing the puma from executing a choking hold. Moreover, this fearless beast moves incredibly fast. The Wolverine lunges at the puma to grab sensitive points on the cat's body with its terrifying jaws, such as the nose. Moreover, the Wolverine's teeth are sharp and large, and with them, it can seriously damage the tendons on the enemy's paws, crippling the puma. The puma realizes that the found carcass is not worth the risk of becoming crippled and suffering from hunger, so it retreats. Small and amusing, yet incredibly tough and fearless, the Wolverine can engage in a fight with an opponent that surpasses it not only in size but also in number. Two wolves made a serious mistake when they decided to attack the Wolverine. One-on-one, a wolf is more than 3 times larger than a Wolverine, and together, wolves should seemingly tear this opponent apart in mere seconds. But the Wolverine remains one of the most daring and aggressive creatures in the animal world. The wolves did not expect such resistance. The Wolverine itself rushes into battle against a stronger opponent. Just one sideways glance in the Wolverine's direction is enough to provoke this fighter into an attack. This may seem like foolish behavior, but the Wolverine's logic is quite substantial. If the wolves are about to attack, trying to hide from them is pointless. It is smarter to immediately seize the initiative and constantly press the opponents, not allowing them to effectively use their numerical superiority. Initially, the larger predators were shocked, not expecting such a turn of events, but they quickly recovered, engaged in the fight, and began to maneuver.
The wolf's plan was to attack the Wolverine from different sides simultaneously, to grab it with powerful jaws, immobilize it, and tear it apart.
Trying to bite this beast's throat makes no sense, so the wolves will act as brutally as possible, but their plan failed. The grey hunters tried to avoid getting injured, often dodging the Wolverine's counterattacks. This is reasonable, as there is no point in getting a meal at the cost of health, but the wolves forgot to consider not only the opponent's fury, but also its strength. The Wolverine's paws are very muscular and powerful. With them, it delivers sweeping blows and throws enemies back before the wolves can close their jaws in a secure grip on the victim's hide. Fending off both predators, the Wolverine controls the situation, swiftly switching between opponents and not allowing itself to be completely surrounded. The maneuverability of this berserker is top-notch, as the large pads on its paws prevent it from sinking into the snow. Claws and teeth are impressive, and she uses her arsenal with particular ferocity to show her enemies how wrong they were in choosing her as an opponent. Such skill of the Wolverine deserves your like, doesn't it?
The mountain lion went hunting. An adult predatory cat can easily handle a deer 1.5 times its size.
The puma also often chases bears, which it considers its main competitors. It seems that one-on-one there are few animals that can resist it. However, when the puma saw the American badger calmly entering its burrow, it was clearly surprised. It had never encountered such a creature before, so the puma decided to have a light snack, attacking it before setting off in search of worthwhile prey. It was in for an unpleasant surprise. The puma tilts its head to sniff the badger and possibly grab it with its fangs while it is defenseless. However, the mountain lion made a mistake. The badger, which resembles a mob brush, turned out to be an aggressive and tough fighter. It doesn't start fights first, but it will make anyone respect its personal space. The badger makes a short movement, unexpectedly pushing the opponent away with force. He is ready for battle and was the first to launch a decisive attack. The badger confronted the puma, trying to bite her paws with his sharp, short teeth. Dense fur, impenetrable skin, and the ability to ignore pain make this little creature unexpectedly dangerous and tough. Its determination shocks the cat. It doesn't want to end up injured after this encounter. In the end, the puma was pushed back and forced to retreat. She did not expect such an unexpected attack from a short and fluffy opponent. Sloths are certainly exotic animals that do not give the impression of being tough fighters. Many millions of years ago, there were giant relatives in the world who lived on Earth, possessed phenomenal strength, and could fight the most terrifying and dangerous predators of their era hand to hand, counting on victory. By the way, if you want to learn more about the so-called megafauna of the past, write in the comments. If you think that the coolest extinct creatures were dinosaurs, you are mistaken, but modern sloths move incredibly slowly, so they seem completely helpless. However, the harpy, on the contrary, is one of the largest and strongest eagles in the world. In size, it resembles a person who is squatting. The harpy's huge sickle-shaped claws and its powerful, crushingly strong beak are impressive. Its incredibly powerful wings are relatively short, as this predator prefers to actively fly and maneuver between trees in search of prey, which it literally knocks off the upper branches with a single terrifying strike.
If a harpy eagle finds a sloth, it will definitely defeat it, right? It turns out no, this eagle was young and inexperienced.
Instead of a decisive strike from above, it landed next to the sloth to attack it with its beak. The reason for such behavior is likely due to the bird's limited hunting experience. Big mistake.
The sloth, though slow, is not cowardly. It raises a long paw with curved sickle-like claws to strike. Of course, with its speed, the sloth has no chance of hitting the target's head, and the harpy easily dodges the attack. But the sloth's resistance was so unexpected that it shocks the harpy. She looks at the prey in confusion and doesn't know what to do. In the end, the bird just flies away. The sloth becomes a hero to fend off a harpy. If sloths had social media, he would become a legend among his kind. When a group of lionesses encounters a solitary animal at night, it almost certainly becomes dinner. Almost no one can fend off several experienced lionesses alone, except perhaps an adult elephant. But it turns out there is another extraordinary and much smaller animal capable of taking on an entire group of lionesses. This is a porcupine. There are many species of this animal in the world, differing in size, length, and density of the quills growing on their bodies, but all of them can put up a strong defense against much larger and stronger animals. Versus lion leopard. After encountering a porcupine, no one leaves without a portion of quills stuck in their snouts. Meanwhile, the porcupine's main weapon doesn't hinder it. The quills grow backward, so in a calm state they are pressed against the body, and the porcupine can walk freely and even interact with its kind without the risk of injuring itself or others. But as soon as the porcupine senses an enemy nearby, its quills immediately stand on end. A predator sees a small but suddenly very spiky animal and tries to approach it from behind. Then the porcupine starts to back up energetically right towards the opponent. These are not random movements, but a well-thought-out counter-attack tactic. Almost no one attacks an enemy by moving backward. A porcupine can catch even an experienced predator like lionesses by surprise. They may have taken down dozens of large hoofed animals, but they didn't know who they were dealing with that night. The porcupine directs its attacks at the opponent's head, unprotected body parts, and even its eyes. The peculiarity of the quills lies in their unique structure. Their tips have serrated edges, which allow them to instantly get stuck in the victim's body after penetrating its flesh. However, the base of the quills is smooth, so they easily and painlessly detach from the porcupines themselves. Thanks to this feature, the quills not only penetrate the enemy's body, but also remain there, firmly lodged in the enemy's skin. The piercing strikes are very dangerous, as they can penetrate through the muscular frame and pierce internal organs. Even a nimble leopard rarely manages to extract a quill from such a wound. This requires having opposable thumbs like ours, and for snakes which do not have limbs at all, the chances of removing these quills are zero. Therefore, reptiles have almost no chance of surviving a fight with a porcupine. Wounds with quills cannot heal and sooner or later will inevitably become inflamed. Wild predators also do not have antibiotics. Infection will develop in the wounds, leading to blood poisoning and a fatal outcome for the porcupine's enemy. Moreover, the animal will be in pain when moving, unable to hunt or sneak up on prey. Hunger might get to it before the infection does. Therefore, when encountering porcupines, it is wiser not to try to show off hunting skills, but to attempt to flee before this little one gets angry. Bayam! It must be admitted that the porcupine is by no means an invincible or invulnerable animal. An experienced and fast lion can overcome it while avoiding getting a large number of quills in its body, but even it takes a serious risk and partially relies on luck. A lion that can barely defeat a bull does not always win against an animal the size of a spaniel. There are also cases when large pythons attack porcupines before they can use their weapons. The snake quickly grabs the porcupine by the snout with its jaws and coils around it, pressing the animal's quills against its body. After finishing off the prey, the python devours it, but this is not the end. Now, this snake didn't know who it was dealing with, as this was its last meal after such attacks. All pythons surely regretted their decision. Since reptiles do not have chewing teeth, they swallow their prey whole, which means the quills end up inside the snake. The quills inevitably start to rise right inside the reptile. This causes irreparable damage to its internal organs, piercing them through and causing the python terrible pain from which it cannot escape. The quills will finish off the snake in a few hours, and these hours will seem like an eternity to the python. Thus, even if the porcupine loses the battle with the snake, it can still take revenge by delivering a fatal blow from the inside. Frightening, isn't it? The pangolin looks like an alien, but in fact it is a member of the order of Anteater animals. This amazing mammal has an elongated snout and a long rounded body adorned not with fur, but with large beautiful scales and a long tongue. Midi. He can walk on his hind legs, balancing with a very long, massive tail, like a strange dinosaur. He folds his front limbs under himself to use them as a tool for grabbing targets. Thanks to its tongue, it can feed on termites, ants, and other insects. In addition to these phenomenal traits, the pangolin skillfully employs exclusively passive defense to fend off predator attacks. The pangolin's scales seem very dangerous and sharp, but in fact, the animal never uses them as a weapon of attack. When a large predator is nearby, the pangolin simply curls up into a ball. Then the scales fit tightly together due to the natural tension of the skin and muscles underneath. From a spiky creature, the pangolin turns into an armored one. Even young lions and experienced lionesses cannot breach its defense. They grab the prey with their claws, deliver powerful blows, try to catch at least a single scale, and boldly use their tooth-armed jaws. But to no avail. Sometimes lions can play with a pangolin for quite a while, but usually achieve no results. Our little hero just calmly lies in a defensive position, does not fight back, and seems to almost doze off under the barrage of blows from some of the most dangerous predators on the planet. As soon as the panthers leave, the pangolin immediately unrolls and goes about its business. Termites and ants aren't going anywhere. Pangolins have another unique relative that resembles them in several aspects. For example, it has the same head shape. And instead of developed jaws like the pangolin, this animal is equipped with a long, flexible and sticky tongue for hunting insects. This is an anteater. Admit it, this animal also looks unusual. Thanks to its highly specialized jaw structure, it can only feed on insects. However, this does not mean that the anteater prefers passive defense in case of danger from large predators. On the contrary, when a strong and large enemy appears nearby, the Anteater switches to aggressive attacking actions, trying to overpower the opponent. Unexpected, right? Yes, even the Jaguar was surprised by such bravery from an ordinary termite hunter. When the Anteater senses a threat, it does not try to run or retreat at all. Instead, the animal rises on its hind legs, presses its elongated snout to its chest, and spreads its powerful front legs to the sides. When it comes to small anteaters that resemble plush toys, it looks very cute. However, it's still not worth approaching them. Believe me, this is a much more dangerous opponent than most predators can imagine. The strange body position is actually very well thought out. With its snout lowered down, the Anteater covers its throat and blocks an attack in that direction. And with its curved claws joined into a huge sickle, the Anteater actively digs the ground in search of insects. Therefore, its front limbs resemble a bulldozer's scoop and are correspondingly strong. When the Anteater spreads its arms in a defensive stance, it is not offering to make peace with hugs. He is preparing to deliver powerful and devastatingly strong sweeping blows with these scythes directly to the head, neck, and body of the enemy. With such claws, he crushes sturdy termite nests, so one successful hit can break the neck of a medium-sized dog or seriously injure a panther. The Anteater on its hind legs is very stable because it can lower its center of gravity. Small species have short hind legs, which are convenient for standing, and large species of giant anteaters, the size of a small leopard, balance with the help of a long tail. Running in such a position, the animal cannot, and its mobility is practically zero. But in exchange for this, it gains an incredibly effective defensive stance. The Anteater can instantly spin around its axis, responding to attacks from predators that outnumber our fighter and try to surround it. Catching it off guard is almost impossible. The Anteater's skin is covered with fur. When it goes hunting for insects, the Anteater endures hundreds or even thousands of bites, which gives it a high pain threshold, excellent resilience, endurance, and tough skin. Additionally, the animal's thick fur is coarse and, due to its length, can serve as good protection against predators' claws. The Anteater should not be underestimated. Of course, if the predator is significantly larger, the Anteater will not be able to withstand it, but it can fend off several dogs or even a medium-sized panther without much trouble. The fossa has chased the lemur up a tree and is already approaching it, ready to sink its teeth into the primitive primate's throat, but the lemur is ready to surprise its enemy. At the decisive moment, with only a few seconds before the strike, he bravely leaps down and jumps from the height of the 5th floor. But thanks to the lemur using its tail like a propeller, the falling speed decreases and the most unusual monkey in the world lands without injury, out of reach of the large predator's claws. Where an unusual animal fought back against a large predator impressed you the most? Answer in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Then we'll see each other more often.